So I don't know, is this number 4 or 5? What?
5.
5. 5 in a row. Oh, this is this is good. And I'm honored to be asked once again to speak for the Santa Cruz Challenge. And I just want to first off give my props to Lita and Michelle for doing an exquisite job. And it's been exciting to watch the Santa Cruz Challenge grow, you know, over the years and to really gain a place, you know, here in Santa Cruz. And it's a wonderful concept, and I'm sure you'll find a way to market it and take it out to other places. And I'm also really pleased that Lita is a new member of the board of directors here at Inner Light Ministries. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So before I get started, I'd like to do a little Q&A sort of thing in the beginning and ask you, what are the questions that are on your mind the most about relationships? Are there things that you really want to cover, or things that are perplexing to you, things you're struggling with? Because that way I can make sure that the talk is really hitting you where it is that, you know, you have your most concerns. Can we turn this down just a little bit? It's a little too much echo for me. As a matter of fact, Drew may need me for the recording, but you really don't need me for the room. Yeah. Anybody have any questions or things on your mind about relationships? Yes.
So this is something that has always puzzled me.
Okay. A good puzzle. All right. 20 years. Okay, 20-year husband? Hey, very good.
And I love Emma. This is called the puzzle.
Okay.
I love him so much. This is a puzzle about me. I don't understand why I do this. I can literally get excited that I'm going to see him. You know, we work on split schedules. Sometimes when I see him, as soon as we are in the same room, I do this like counter reaction thing where I'm almost cool. What is that? And that's what he gets out of me. I've never told him that.
I think maybe he's figured that out, huh?
I just don't understand it because I'm really happy with her together and all that, and I don't understand. That's how I show up.
That's good. I'm gonna
You have the answer. If you do.
I'm gonna come back and work with you a little bit specifically on that one, but that's a good one. So you got a high five from her. So you're a witness. Okay, so we got a threesome over here. All right, this is good. This is good. You want to say a little bit more about that?
That is exactly how I am. I'm like, I think because I've been through so much and stuff, I will only go a certain, like I think I am, and I'm not with my husband or whatever, but otherwise I have this, like, and it's constantly on my mind, like, why are we just being nice right now? Why don't you go do something? And it's like,
A little shutdown.
trust people.
A little shutdown
So
that
that
happens.
extra thing again,
Okay.
safe marriage.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for the honesty. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Any other questions or things that people have about relationships? Yes.
How do you deal with resentments?
Okay. Yours or somebody else's?
Oh, mine, of course. I can't deal with somebody else.
Okay.
But identifying them, like knowing when they're happening, knowing that my behavior is really from this resentment and nothing else. And awareness of codependency. And how to be more self-aware of being codependent. Like doing something for somebody else is not necessarily a codependent thing, but if the motive behind it is a certain motive, then it is, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Good. Anybody else have any other questions on your mind? Yes.
What about setting boundaries?
Okay.
I'm constantly giving more than I should, not only in my relationships, but in my work, in just every day in life. And I seem to have the hardest time saying no. No, I can't do that. No, that's not what I do. And I end up doing all kinds of things that are just totally outside the realm of my experience.
Mhm.
So, I guess that's important.
That's exactly what I just said, yeah. What I was saying. Because the codependent behavior leads to resentments.
Yeah.
You're like doing things for other people, and you're like, should I do that?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's always for me, it's just like, why did I say that?
Right.
Mhm. Yeah, that's good. These are good questions. Yes. Any other questions that anybody has? Wonderful. Relationships. They are a wonderful laboratory. It's life's workshop. Nobody gets out of doing relationships. Everybody is in some kind of a relationship. And I want to talk about relationship in the broadest sense, because many times when people say relationship, they're thinking about a very narrow, specific kind of a romantic relationship. And there might be some times when I'm speaking very specifically about that romantic relationship. But I want to talk about just relationships in general. That relationships give us an extraordinary opportunity to grow. That's part of the reason why we're in them. We think sometimes that we're in them strictly for the good times, for the support or the laughter and all of the rest of that. But a real, true relationship, a really, really good relationship is going to stretch you some. A good relationship is going to take you outside of your comfort zone. When we are aware of that, then we can actually embrace the relationship and embrace when that happens instead of being resentful of it. It's going to happen. You get people who are different people. There are going to be those times where they're up against each other. That just happens. And there's this interesting thing that goes on, particularly in our close relationships. We sort of mirror each other. And the mirror isn't always the direct reflection. Sometimes it's the complement. It's what might appear to be the opposite end of the spectrum. So it never ceases to amaze me in romantic relationships. For example, you get the person who is into fight, who hooks up with the one who's into flight. I can't ever figure out why the messy people wind up with the neat people. You would think that, that if the neat people just found each other, that it would be all right. But there's this way in which if there's an issue that you have, you're afraid of commitment, and of course you're going to hook up with that one person that absolutely has to have the last undying commitment from you. And this is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a wonderful opportunity for us to see ourselves reflected back, to see it reflected back. I say settle in, because whatever lesson you refuse to learn in one arena, you're going to learn it in another one. That if there's something really about yourself that you need to deal with and heal, you can avoid this person. You can even say, oh, I'm never going to be in another romantic relationship again. Well, guess what? Your next boss will give you that opportunity to do it. The things you don't heal with your mother, your child brings you. You're going to do it sooner or later. So I want to recommend to everybody, do it with a smile, do it joyously, and say life is in session. Life is in session. Relationships are this extraordinary opportunity for us to see ourselves, not just the other people, but in fact to see ourselves. I always say that there's only one thing that needs to be healed. It's just the sense of separation, is all. I don't care what problem, how big, how small, underneath it all, there's a sense of separation. Separation from our good, our prosperity, our health, from each other, our creativity, my purpose, whatever that is. Some people describe it as a little sort of emotional or psychic hole. sort of big existential dilemma where so many of us have this sense that there's something missing, that there's just somehow or another we're not totally complete. And then we run around in life trying to figure out what that is that's going to make us complete. What are we going to stuff in that hole, so to speak? Are we going to make it food? Are we going to make it jobs? Are we going to make it money? Are we going to make it relationships? You know, what is it that we're going to stuff in there that's going to give us the idea that we're whole? Okay? But the sense of not being whole really isn't true. It's just a sense we're already whole. And what happens for so many of us in relationships is we try to get that sense of wholeness vicariously. I want to be whole, but the only way I'm going to be whole is through my relationship with you. I need you to think highly of me so that I can be validated. I need you to love me so that I know that I'm lovable. I need you to hire me so that I know that I'm going to be successful. You know, I need you to tell me how wonderful I am so that I know I'm as good as my sister. Or whatever that story is that's going on, there's a way in which we misplace our own needs for healing, and we saddle and burden our relationships. We saddle and burden them, asking them to provide for us what we should be providing for ourselves. Breathe. Breathe. We burden our relationships by asking our relationships to provide for us what we are not providing for ourselves. What we're looking for, we're looking with. What we're looking for, we're looking with. So whatever that is that we think that we don't have, we have a tendency to externalize it, to objectify it. So there's me here, and then there's love over here. There's me here, and there's prosperity over there. You know, there's me here, and there's some health out there that I'm trying to reach. Okay? And now we've gotten into the idea of the laws of attraction. So I can stand here and be me, inadequate, not successful, not loving, not prosperous. I can be that. And through the laws of attraction, I can go and grab this thing and bring it to me. That's how we're treating the laws of attraction now. As though I can just be this and go over and get this other thing here. Okay? That's not how the laws of attraction work. The laws of attraction don't say that you can be here and just get this external thing brought to you. That's not what happens. What happens is that if you're willing to become the essence of it, if you're willing to become it, then you will be able to manifest it. If you're willing to become it. If you want a loving relationship, guess what? You have to be loving. You want a forgiving relationship? Guess what? You have to be forgiving. We have to be willing to give what it is that we receive. We have to really be willing to be it. So we're in this dilemma of this sort of chicken or the egg. It kind of reminds me what happens when you first get out into the workforce and nobody will hire you because you don't have the experience. But as soon as you hire me, I will have the experience. but I can't get the job till I do have the experience. It's that kind of a dilemma that we find ourselves in, where I'm waiting for some external validation to make me feel good about myself. I'm waiting for you to embrace me, to let me know I'm embraceable. I'm waiting for you to love me, to know that I'm lovable. These things that we're chasing after, we want the symbols of them. We want the signs of them, because somehow in our minds we think, if I could just get that, then I can become it. That's what I just said. If I can get it, then I can become it. If I can get this job, then I can become successful. If I can get this relationship, then I know that I'm loving. I'm thinking in my mind, I have to have this outside thing happen before I give myself permission to see myself differently. Let that soak in for a moment. I'm thinking there's some prerequisite, there's some condition, there's something I'm trying to get first that will give me permission to think differently about myself. So a lot of this chasing after stuff that we're doing in relationships, it really isn't even so much about the relationship. So much as it is, there's something that we're trying to feel. There's some way I'm wanting to feel. And I think that somehow or another, if I can get what I want out of you, and you know what happens. Nobody cooperates. I could be more loving if you just acted right. I could be more sensitive if you just acted right. I could be more this if you just. Does that sound familiar? If you just, if they just, when this, if that, And all that becomes a setup. Okay? It just becomes a setup. When in fact, it's the reverse. I want you to catch that. It's the reverse. It isn't you'll feel yourself loving and lovable when you get this relationship. It's when you do the self-talk and work with your own relationship with yourself, which I'm about to talk about in a moment, when you handle that first, then the relationship comes. We have it backwards. We think, once I get this job, then I'm going to feel successful. But you know what? There's a part of you that has to feel successful to go after the job. You're doing the Santa Cruz Challenge here. So, if you're training for a race, you're going to be in a bad shape if you have to complete the race first in order for you to believe that you can complete it. You're in a pickle, right? If you have to have already completed the race to prove to you that you can get in the race and win. Now, you're looking at me and going, well, that's kind of stupid, isn't it? We know better than that, yes? But how much of that do we do life like that? How much do we do life like that? Prove to me that I'm going to be successful, and then I'll try it. Prove to me this relationship is going to work, and then I'll get in it. You know, prove to me I'm not going to get hurt. Prove to me it's going to work out. Prove all of this to me first, and then maybe I will consider it. I'm not even going to show up fully until you prove to me that this can be a good relationship. When you prove and show me that this can be a good relationship, well, then I'm going to show up. Doesn't work that way. just doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. A relationship can't be anything the people in it are not. The relationship can't be anything that the people in it are not. We keep focusing all this attention on the relationship. Like if I could just get the relationship to be this thing, then I will have a rock. But the relationship can't bring you anything that you're not being. So let's just say I'm doing couples counseling, okay? And I say, well, you know, what's the issue here? Well, the issue is there's no communication. There's no communication in the relationship. Or there's no trust in the relationship. I say, okay, well, do you trust this one? No! Well, do you trust this? No. Oh, but the problem is there's no trust in the relationship. You feel that? There's no trust in the relationship. But the relationship can't have anything that you don't bring to it. So we have it backwards. We think we can get in the relationships and the relationships can make us something, when it's the other way around. We have to be something in order to make the relationship something. The relationship can't make us something that we're not. We have to show up with it. It can't be a forgiving relationship unless I'm willing to be forgiving. It can't be a supportive relationship unless I bring the support with me. You can't have a room full of rocket scientists unless rocket scientists walk in the room. Just them together isn't going to make them something. And we have this false illusion somehow or another that different kind of relationships can make us something. If you don't have a good work ethic, there's no job in the world that's going to make you successful. You have to show up on the job with your A game. There's no amount of dieting, there's no amount of exercise, there's no amount of anything. If fundamentally I'm in conflict with my body, if fundamentally I do not have a good relationship with my body, there's only so much exercise I can do. There's only so much dieting I can do. And even if I get some results, I won't maintain them. Because of the relationship that I have with my body isn't healed. If I have a poor relationship with finances, with money, there's no amount of money in the world that can stop me from feeling poor. Because it's not about money. That feeling poor is an internal sense. Studies have been done on this umpteen times. You can win the lottery. You can win $5 million. And if you really think you're a poor person, guess what? In 2 years, you're going to be broke again. You're going to be broke again. Why? Because the universe is so perfect, it won't let us hold on to anything we don't think we deserve. Just breathe that in for a moment. The universe is so perfect and loving, it will not let us hold on to anything we don't think we deserve. So that even if you manifest it, if I have a poverty consciousness, I may manifest the wealth, but I'll never really have it. Because I'm going to always be worried about it losing. I'm going to always be worried that I have to hedge against it and there's going to be some loss or who's going to take it for me. I won't sleep at night. There won't be any amount of money enough that will make me sleep at night. If I fundamentally have questions about myself as a loving person, there's no amount of love another person can give me that's ever going to make me feel secure enough. Any of you have any adolescents? Any of you have any teenagers or raised teenagers? Anybody ever been a teenager? Okay. You know, there's that phase and that stage. Nobody loves me. Everybody's against me. Everybody hates me. You're in my way. You know, you don't love me. You know, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's part of the individuation process. I'm not trying to make light of it, but there is this phase that people go through, right? Have you ever been frustrated with someone who's in that nobody loves me when everybody around them is doing everything they can to love and to support them? They can't feel it. Not because they aren't being loved, they're not showing up with love. They're not being loved. So they can't feel it. They can't feel it. Have you ever been in deep conflict with another person where there was some reconciliation that needed to take place? The reconciliation didn't take place when they started to love you more. The reconciliation started to take place when something shifted in you. That's when it happened. You know, most of us go to couples counseling because we're frustrated. You know, and maybe a third party can, get through to this bozo. Maybe I can get some help. But that shift doesn't happen. That great moment of the reconciliation doesn't happen just when you think you've been heard. It's when you hear them. When you suddenly see something you didn't see before, that you weren't open to, when you showed up with a different place of love. The moral of the story: the relationship that you need to pay the most attention to is the one with you. Is the one with you. That if there are places of hurt, if there are places of woundedness, it's much better to own that and to work on it so that you're okay with you. What you're looking for other people to do, you have to do. You stand in the mirror and tell yourself how much you love you. You want somebody else to treat you right? You treat yourself right. How do you treat you? Do you put yourself first? Do you put yourself last? And I'm talking to myself here too, because I know I'll get into that. Well, it's only me now. And I won't take the time to cook as much as I used to, or what? Because it's only me, right? It's only me. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Now, if there was somebody else, I'd be cooking up a storm. Oh, but it's only me. Okay? And then I have to take a look at that. See, what message is that I'm sending out about my worthiness, about my value? I mean, really think about this. Okay, really think about this. If I want a lawyer, and I come to you and I say, are you a lawyer? And you say, I will be as soon as you give me your case. I say, are you a doctor? I will be as soon as you let me operate on you. But that's how we do with relationships. We're holding out. Right? Well, are you a committed, loving person? I will be as soon as you commit to me. Are you an unconditionally loving person? No, but I will be. I will be as soon as you get in this relationship with me. No. You show up as that. You show up as that. Think about it for a moment. If you're hiring somebody, who are you looking for? What kind of characteristics are you looking for? Why do we interview people? Why don't we just go by resumes? Because there's something about them, yes? There's something about their energy, there's something about their drive, their connectedness, their willingness, their amicability, their collegiality, their collaboration. It's a whole aura. Are you with me? There's a whole energy field that's around you. And you take you with you wherever you go. So you can't be shut down just in one place, because that energy of shut down is going to come every place. Now, I remember when I finally got that, and that was one of the big things that really pushed me to come out the closet. Because the hiding, people could just feel the energy of the hiding. They didn't necessarily know what it was. Are you with me? But this kind of, this sort of not really knowing what was up with me, not really being able to settle into it and kind of trust, so to speak. You take you with you wherever you go. If you have unresolved issues, you're angry with your brother, guess what? It's going to show up. You get mad at somebody in the house in the morning, you kick the dog on the way out, and you flip the bird to the people in the, to the traffic. You take it with you. The good news about this is that you don't have to think about all these relationships you're in and all this cleanup that you have to do. You don't even have to worry about it. All of us have that one something, that kind of one place where we have that sense of separation. I'm not enough. It's not a friendly universe. It's over. I can never do it. Whatever that is. And if we just work on that, it's like dominoes. You don't have a lot of different problems. That one kernel of false idea about yourself is showing up everywhere. It's showing up in your finances. It's showing up in your relationship with your money. It's showing up in your relationships with other people. It's showing up in your relationship with your body. It's showing up everywhere. And if we just commit to saying, I'm just going to work on being a whole person. I'm just going to work on convincing myself that I'm okay. Whether I'm in this relationship or not. Whether my son thanks me or not, whether I get this promotion or not, whether this person asks me out on a date or not, like whatever that is, I will no longer make my value of myself conditional upon what other people are doing. That's the primary relationship. And as sure as I am standing here, if you're willing to walk that path, something happens. If you're willing to walk that path. So I want to take some of the questions that came here before I run out of time. And I don't know all of your stories. It was first put up about an issue of boundaries. Not knowing how to put up boundaries. As this dilemma of not knowing how to say no. And taking on too many things and then being resentful. I would like to recast that. Okay? And take it out of the context of boundaries. and to ask the really challenging question, what do I get out of saying yes? Not, why can't I say no? But why do I keep saying yes? What is that? What am I really hoping to get? Do I want to be liked? Do I want to be the hero? Do I want to be affirmed? Do I want everybody to think that I'm really there for them and I'm the best person, or whatever that is? In our minds, we're thinking, I'm not that already. I need their validation. I need that feedback from them, even if it's for a moment. Even if it's for a moment. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to exaggerate just your question, but I want to make this link here. Okay? Addictions is one of those ways we try to fill up the hole. Addictions. And the sense of the satisfaction is often very temporary. It's very temporary. But whatever that is that we're feeling in that moment is kind of worth it, so to speak. And that resentment that we have after saying yes when we want to say no is very similar to what happens when we're in addictive behavior. When I took that drink, but afterwards I had the hangover. Or I did this thing, and afterwards it really wasn't satisfying. If we ask ourselves the question more, why do I keep saying yes? What do I think I'm going to get out of that? And why do I need that? What's going on there? And if we're willing to heal that, then we'll break it. As long as we think it's about a boundary, then it's not about me. As long as it's a boundary, it's about what can I do to help control you and your access to me and what you're going to get out of me. But it misses the healing. It misses the healing. Because I tell you what I know. If you make life and your comfort and your safety based upon all the boundaries that you put, there'll never be enough of them. There just won't be enough of them. I have a theory about boundaries, that we misuse them. And that the purpose of boundaries should not be to keep people away. That the purpose of boundaries should be, how can I create it so that I can be in relationship with you? That's really what a boundary is supposed to be about. Not what can I do to keep you away, but how can we set this up so that we can, in fact, be in relationship with one another? What is this that we can do? But be careful. Be careful about always thinking what's needed is a boundary when there's internal work that can be done. It reminds me of a story that Marianne Williamson tells in her book, A Return to Love, where she says this friend of hers is complaining that every place she goes, she keeps meeting men that won't commit. And Marianne says, your problem isn't that you keep meeting men that won't commit. The problem is you keep giving them your phone number. Can you feel the difference in that? What is it about these men who won't commit? Why am I continuously attracted to them and making myself available to them? That's the issue, not what's wrong with them, but what's that with me? the question that came up earlier about being enthusiastic, about wanting to be with somebody and to see them, and then when we're with them, it can be kind of cold, or lukewarm, I guess I should say. There could be a number of things behind that. But I tell you what's most classic. If we take these very things that I'm talking about, where there's a certain benefit, there's a certain validation, for lack of another word, that we're knowing and we're expecting and we are anticipating, and it's really sweet in our minds. So we have this whole picture that we painted about how good it's going to be and how much we're going to enjoy it. And we've done it. In our minds, it's good. And then sometimes we don't want to risk. We don't want to risk. It's almost like a fantasy or a dream world that we're in. But in the real life, when it comes to it, it's, I don't know if it's going to be as good. I don't know if it's going to be as good in one-on-one as it was in my mind. And I know it's good there. So there can be a kind of protective wall that can come up and stop us from really making ourselves as available as we possibly could be, for fear of the letdown, for fear of the disappointment, fear that it's not going to crack up to what it is that we want it to be. Sometimes we think we failed, and a lot of times it isn't that we failed, we haven't tried. And that's what happens here, is that I don't want this to fail. I want it to be good, but I don't want to risk. I don't want to risk. So we make this false idea that if I don't engage and I don't try, then I can't lose. But we always lose when we don't love. We think that if I don't put myself out there to love, then I can be safe and I'm not going to lose. But the not loving is what makes us lose. You know, that is it. Does any of this resonate? And I mean, it may not be right on the mark for what's going on with you specifically, but what I'm saying is often a very classic pattern. And it's not just to do with one-on-one relationships. That's why a lot of times people don't go for it with their dreams. I've got my vision board, I have my mastermind map, and I have this and I have that and whatnot, and I'm feeling it and it's all powered up. Oh, but I don't want to test this theory. I don't want to really put myself out there. Because if it doesn't work, what's going to happen then? Then what am I going to do? Because at least now I can feel like I'm in control and I'm a master of my fate and I've got this destiny and I'm living it all vicariously and I'm living not only mine but everybody else that's in the group and it's yeah. You know? But it isn't until you put the boat in the water. You just, it's like the shiny car in the driveway. At some point, we have to be willing to do the test drive, so to speak. At some point, we have to be willing to get in the car. And when we know who we are, when you really know you're enough, then you know you're resilient. We're afraid we're not resilient. We're afraid we can't bounce back. We're afraid that if it doesn't work out, I'm going to be crushed and whatever forever. But when we heal our relationship with ourselves, then we know. When we heal our relationship with ourselves and really get a sense of how powerful we are and good we are and loving and kind and creative and our capacities, when we really do that, instead of putting the burden on other people, places, and things to affirm us so that I can feel good about myself, when we do that, then we're not as afraid in the world. We're not as desperate. We're not chasing after stuff. We may really want it, but I know I'm not going to die. So I don't have to, please love me, oh please love me, please, please, please. It's like, next. No, this sounds okay, but it's like, well, if it's not working, it's not working. But just because that's not working doesn't mean nothing's going to work. Love you. That's your biggest relationship. Love you. Take care of you. And I'm confident that if you're in this Santa Cruz challenge, then there's some commitment on your part to do that. Just really go for it, okay? Don't make it like top surface, where you just dibble in this and sort of like dibble in that. But say yes. Hey, yes, I'm going for it. I want to come out on the other side of this challenge challenged. Clearer, a little more confident. Liking myself a little bit more. Not so full of fears and lacking limitations and oughtos, but stretching, seeing what I can do. Man, doesn't that feel good? Yeah, doesn't that feel good? And then we don't have so much need to have other people give us what we're not giving ourselves. It doesn't work anyway. Are there any other questions that anybody has? Yes.
What if you're in a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
So you feel that way about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You feel you are enough, you're confident and all of that, but you tend to not feel that way when you're in certain relationships with
Mm-hmm.
certain people.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that you're bringing? I mean, or sometimes are you just in relationships that aren't good for you, Because
Well-
how can you maintain that confidence and that feeling that you are worthy and all of that in those tough situations, those relationships?
Everybody's just doing the same thing. People can only love you as much as they love themselves. So what ends up happening is a lot of times we're expecting people to give us things that they don't have to give.
So love them just where they are.
Yeah. We're expecting them to validate us. They don't validate themselves. We're expecting them to love us unconditionally, and they're in judgment of their own selves and everybody else. It's the perfect setup when we're wanting something from somebody that can't give that to us. And this may sound really harsh, but I really had to just learn to see the relationships where I felt like I wasn't getting enough, or I wasn't being supported, and whatnot. Who really are these people? And what are they doing with their lives? Would I want to have their life? What do I really, I'm concerned about what they think about my life, but what do I really think about theirs? Really? And to say, well, some things are just bad relationships, some stuff just is. It could be your sister. It could be your mother, or your father, or your brother. And that's just the way that it is. And they're always going to be your dad, and they're always going to be your mom. And I don't know what's going to change, with them or not. But it doesn't mean that you have to hold yourself hostage. where how you feel about yourself is going up and down. Now I've learned to have compassion. Instead of being hurt at the love that they can't give me, I have some compassion for the love they can't give. For the love that they can't even let their own self experience. There was a phrase I came up with years ago. Never let the smallness of somebody else's thinking dictate the largeness of mine. Never let their smallness dictate mine. Just because they have spiritual amnesia doesn't mean I have to have it. They're lost. They don't know who they are. I'm not going to get in there and get lost too.
Or try to rescue them.
That's getting lost. But if I'm doing that, that's the blind leading the blind.
When Dr. Marianne said, when people say to you their comment, and it can be good and bad, good or evil, you always try to fix it. How does she quote it, Dr. Redbetter?
She says, when people tell you about themselves, believe them the first time.
Yes. How do you feel about that?
Oh. Baby, they need to write that in the sky in gold. Oh, yeah. And people will tell you about themselves. I'm this, I'm that. Well, you know, I'm really hard to get along with. You know, it's never worked out, or, no, I mean, really. You know, I have these issues with this thing or that thing. And I don't want to step on any toes.
Go ahead, step on it.
But what I have found, particularly in the romantic, but it goes pretty much across the board, that when relationships have really, really gone south, like really south, the writing was on the wall in the first 30 days. When I look at what was the fundamental issues that took it down, that the evidence, the inclination, the foreshadowing or whatever was there in the first 30 days, and we overrode it. We didn't listen. We didn't pay attention, only to wind up years later going, oh! I remember this analogy I came up with when I was graduating from UCLA's business school. And I said finding a partner was a lot like finding a mate. I mean, finding a mate was a lot like filling jobs in a company. There are all these different positions. You've got the COO, the CEO, the marketing director, the finance person. And it's important to have the right people in the right jobs. And sometimes we slot the wrong people in our lives in the wrong position. It's not that they shouldn't have a place in our life, but we've given them the wrong spot. And we didn't pay attention. So I remember I developed this joke with one of my long-term friends. And this, you can tell how old this joke is, because back then the issue was typing. This was before everybody had keyboards and stuff. You know, we had a secretarial pool that would type for us and all of that. And typing was it was a class thing. It's like only secretaries typed. Now everybody's like types. So this joke went, so you have this job. And the job says you have to type. But we like this person, right? And they tell us straight up in the interview, I don't type. And you're like, oh, but we'll teach you to type. You know, I don't type. Oh, you'll love typing. We'll get you this is, you know. And then when they mess it all up, and they're crying, and they're like, I told you I didn't type. You're like, you don't type. That's what you've been saying. You don't even have any hands. You don't type. And that's just been this joke with us for the past, 30-something years. Is that he don't type. Or, she don't type. Whatever it's about, It could be some plumber that you're trying to, it's like, look, he don't type, he can't do this job. Yeah. But if we weren't so desperate for feeling like we needed something out of them, we wouldn't be overriding all the signs. We wouldn't be overriding them. We'd be so grateful. The more confident you are in yourself, the more you read the signs, and less drama you have. Yeah. One last question? Anybody have? Yes.
This is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
My mom hasn't been well, and I feel like fear of just her not being around is just totally become toxic when I can't be present.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it would use advice.
Yes. You're grieving. You're grieving. And it's okay to grieve. And once you name it as that, it becomes a lot easier to deal with it. And there are really, really great resources on grieving. There really, really are. And what I find for most people is that if you just walk into a bookstore, your book will jump out at you, so to speak, or some article or something will cross your mind. But there are literally stages of grieving. It's not linear. There's anger, there's denial, there's resentment, there's bargaining, there's all these different stages. And you're in it. She might be going into it too. And I want to encourage everybody around this, because anytime we come up against great transitions, because emotionally we experience transitions as loss. Anytime we come up against great transitions, there might be a grieving process. Even if you don't want what you're moving from, because it was familiar. It was familiar. Okay. So learning how to deal with your grief and to see it and understand it, and it hits you in waves. You can be perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden, boom. And when we're grieving not just for what we had that we think we're losing. I find the bigger grief is around letting go of what we didn't get. When relationships end, our expectations are the last thing to go. We stay angry for years and years afterwards about it shouldn't have been this way, or how could it have been, and all the stuff we invested in it, and all the this or that. Even if we don't even want those people anymore, even if we don't want those jobs anymore, the what it could have been still hangs with us, and we're grieving that. And too often we mischaracterize anger. We mischaracterize our grief for anger. And it really isn't anger so much as it is we're in deep grief. We're in deep, deep grief. So your mother and her health condition is giving you an arena now to explore this. But I encourage everybody to explore just grief and how we deal with grief and move through grief. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's okay. It's okay to feel all of it. It's okay to feel all of it. You're resilient. You're resilient. You'll come up on the other side. Well, you've been great. I really appreciate your attention, the depth of your questions, your vulnerability, and it's been an honor. It has been. Thank you. So let me take a 2-minute infomercial. There are a couple of upcoming things that I would like to take the time to invite you to. One of them is an auction that we have coming up in a couple of weeks here at Inner Light. And particularly if you offer any kind of service or business and you want to get some advertising or to get it out there, it's a wonderful way to be able to do that. We use a bidding site called Bidding for Good. So it's a website, so all the offerings are posted there. And if you decide to give a donation, there's a link to you as well. So people have a chance to check you out and like see what it is that you're about. And it's just a great networking opportunity, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a service, but I want to encourage you. The live event is actually here on November the 15th, and there will be wonderful, wonderful gifts and prizes and things at real discounted rates. People clean up, like at the auction, and we put it right before the whole Black Friday thing. It's like shopping time. But I want to encourage you to do that, or anybody else that you may know of. And the fund, I guarantee you, go to a really, really worthy cause. And I want to pass this out to. Oops, sorry, feedback. Woohoo! Can you help me pass these out? On the second page of those, there are a couple of things that I'd like to bring your attention to. One is a drop-in class that I have going on, and it's going to be going on for another 3 weeks or so. It's here on Wednesday evenings. It's called your Spiritual Toolkit. Anybody can come into it. I know Lita has come to it before, and it's really good. It's from 7 to 9:30. Each time we talk about some other kind of spiritual practice or spiritual quality and a way to use it in a most practical kind of way. So I want to encourage you to come to that. And it's an easy drop-in. I have a...
It's in the app already.
Yes. Yeah. So it's at the top of the fall spiritual development classes on the back page. It's at the top there. Towards the bottom of the right corner, it mentions a radio show that's there. I do a radio internet blog show every Tuesday night from 6 to 7:30. It actually broadcasts out of Atlanta. But people are calling in from all over the place. And the things are archived there. It's 90 minutes, which gives us a really good time to get into depth with the conversations and the things that we're talking about. And we've covered so many wonderful ground, possibility and release and surrender, and all these really great topics. And if you have a chance or whatnot, check that out. Most of the things that we do here are archived at our website, innerlightministries.com. We do have a YouTube channel. We do have iTunes, as well. So if you want to catch things and whatnot, you can do that. And last but not least, in the top of the right corner, I've put together a special package of coaching sessions that I'm doing now. I'll stretch it through to the beginning of the year. We're opening it up just to a few people because because I don't have like that much time. But I'm opening up to a max of 20 people for 3 sessions for $500. And the money goes to Inner Light, goes to the ministry. And these 3 sessions you can use however you want to use them. You can use it for business coaching, prayer counseling, whatever you want, basically, is what we will do. And you can come in person, we could do it on the phone, we could do it via Skype. This is the second go round. I did it in the summer, and people really, really liked it a lot. One of the biggest complaints that I would always get is, how do we get hold of you? And I'm so busy that I decided that I would create this space in a real affordable kind of way if people wanted to, access me and go deeper with any of these things. And if a couple of people want to get together and do it together, you can do that too. But I will make myself as available as I possibly can. If you follow that link, there are already slated times that are already in there. You can book your own appointments. And if none of those appointments work, my assistant Leah will work with you in finding something that does in fact work for you. And I think that's it for my infomercials right now. Once again, I want to, and one more thing, and I want to say thank you. Some of you sat in on a taping that we did at Legion Michelle's house. Was that just last weekend?
Yes.
Oh my God, it's like a million years have gone by since then. Last Saturday, and Drew was there and did that. And I want to say thank you. We shot a pilot. I haven't seen the materials yet, but I want to thank everybody who came out and assisted in the pilot for that show that we're doing, Spirituality for Real Life, Candid Conversations. And yeah, you'll be hearing more about that.
So I just want to say 2 things. One is that Michelle and I met a couple of years ago, I think, and it was like game changer. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, we are so lucky because last time we had like 90 people in there. So I mean, this is just such a small group, which we're really blessed to have your time and your consciousness and your clear. She's so laser sharp. So for me, I have so many questions, and I just think it was just nice to have someone outside of myself, to validate if I'm crazy. Really helpful. And then the other thing is that, Deborah she's going international. I mean, this is her home base, and she is ready to really reach a lot more people. This ministry tithes and donates to local nonprofits every month, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 14 years. And so it's just a really, really cool community here. So if you have any questions, please just reach out to me.
Okay, so I do have one more shameless plug. On the back of this, there's a program that's there, and it's referred to as We Circulate. And this is something that I really, really, really feel passionate about. It's a very simple process. We call it See, Thank, Share, where we're asking people just to notice the wonderful things that are happening in their lives, and particularly the ways that they have been blessed with what we call in a very catch-all way, unexpected income. I mean, it could be somebody took you out to dinner. Maybe you got a discount on your car service that you thought you were going to pay $400 and you paid $200. Maybe somebody gave you some hand-me-down clothes, for your kids. I mean, there's all these ways that things come to us. Remember I said before that we tend to do that law of attraction thing, and we're standing here and we think, like, let me bring this to me. But the bounty of life is when we're in the flow, when it's open-ended, the giving and the receiving, and we're in that flow. So what happens in this program is people just notice, they express gratitude, and then they pay it forward. It's a pay it forward program where they take 10% of that and pass it on. And it is just this extraordinary process, and it is transforming lives. So a group of people have decided that they want to do that and pass it on to Inner Light specifically. But it doesn't have to be Inner Light. You can pass it on like wherever it is that you want to pass it on. And that's part of our Wednesday night group. And there's all kind of ways to participate in that. There are URL, links on there and sites and Facebook things and whatnot. And I tell you, you want to shift your relationship to yourself, become a giver. Stop the lack limitation stuff that goes on about I'm not enough and where's it going to come from and blah, 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 blah. And when you just begin to notice, oh my God, I'm being supported. I'm being supported from all over the place in ways that I didn't even expect. And we do it as the unexpected income because sometimes people are a little, I don't know if I have enough or whatnot. Just pass on the bounty. Just pass on the extra. And I'm telling you, it really changes lives. And if any of you want to participate in that with us, welcome, welcome, welcome. But it is a practice that anybody can do. You don't have to believe in anything in particular. You don't have to be a churchgoer. You can team up with a colleague or a partner or a sister or somebody like that and just practice it together. But I tell you, it really does. It really makes a difference to just notice the wonderful things coming your way, express some gratitude, pay it forward. True?
It's amazing. Yeah, ask me about it. It's already in the app. I put the 4 events in the app already on Wednesdays. Some people have come and have really loved it. So, but again, if you have any questions about the concept of tithing 10% off, it's been very old tradition. And like Deborah said, you can tie it to an organization in town that you really love, but you want to get the energy out.
Yeah.
So you want to actually have some completion in tithing. It's amazing. It's really profound. But if you want actual direction on how to do it, just ask me.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you.